Hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true and open debate they've been looking for. For far too many years, governments have had to deal with the problem of illegal migration. The alarming number of 442 migrants who have been deported so far this year, and we know this will not be the last of them. The Prime Minister, acting as the Minister of Immigration, came under some criticism for his recent quick and deliberate repatriation exercise. And on the heels of this exercise, the minister responsible announced there will be some changes to the Immigration Act that also raised even more eyebrows. Shanty towns, which for some reason are going up in smoke recently, are being toured and monitored by a government-appointed Shanty Town Committee. All of this is claimed to be for the good of our country. But will there be innocent casualties in this movement? We will discuss all of this tonight in our topic, Bahamian Immigration, New Rules, New Game. Our guests are no strangers to On the Record. They are Terence Bethel, an accountant and the National Vice Chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, and Louis Georges, who is a human rights activist and a spokesperson for the Haitian Bahamian community. It's all On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. We're back in a moment.
With a yes. But when life takes unexpected turns, you can still say yes to more. The Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card gives you points with every purchase that you can use to travel anywhere. Fly on any airline, anywhere, and anytime, with no blackout dates. Plus, with just 20,000 Scotia points, you can say yes to destinations. With Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card, it's easier to say yes to everything. Apply today.
Are you afraid to swipe your card and you don't like to carry cash? If so, you need checks. Executive Printers can make checks for all your needs. They have laser checks, personal checks, continuous checks, and more. All checks have up to 15 security features, so you know you'll be protected. You can even customize your checks. Come and see one of our experts today, or log on to epbahamas.com for more info.
Welcome back to On the Record. We said the minister with responsibility for immigration recently addressed proposed amendments to the Immigration Act in the House of Assembly. These amendments highlighted the constitutional period in which a person born to non-Bahamian parents can apply for citizenship and what they are entitled to if their application does not make the given period. Well, here's a look at some of what the minister had to say.
There is a presence of a large number of illegal immigrants in the Bahamas, and it has created problems for successive governments. Whilst it's fair to say the majority of most of such persons are of Haitian origin, governments have also had to address the issue of other out-of-status nationalities. So we do have people here who are stateless by reason of having left their countries, or their passports have been cancelled, or they've applied for asylum. But the level of statelessness on an official level is not what is normally touted out there in social media. We've established an immigration commission that has met. First official meeting was on February the 15th, where 18 files were reviewed, one was deferred, 17 were approved. Met on the 22nd of February, 36 matters were discussed and 9 deferred. On the 8th of March, 12 matters were. A lot has been said in the last couple of months about the question of repatriation. This is an issue that is obviously very sensitive and very much in the press. For the year 2017, some 5,468 people were repatriated. January 1st to December 31st, 5,468. Of the total figures, 4,393 were from Haiti. 4,000, yeah, I'm gonna lay it. 4,393, 353 from Jamaica, 283 from Cuba. Notice the region. 106 from Chile, 49 from Brazil, and the list goes on. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll lay that towards the end of my contribution. From January 1st to date, so it'll be January and February. I haven't got March's figures in at the moment for this year. 442 people have been. We're looking at the present moment, and it is being proposed. So I don't want to take any more, to creating a complaints and corruptions unit. For far too long, there have been complaints about the work at immigration and the work that happens. So we're looking towards doing that, to be headed by a senior trained officer, potentially a police officer. We want to establish, as with the crime tipsters, a independent website and hotline where we can have independent comments backwards and forwards, whether it's illegal landings, whether it's fraudulent marriages, whatever the issues are, there can be an independent hotline that's not coming directly into the Ministry of the Department of Immigration, similar to the police force have with those.
The Honorable Brent Simonet, the Minister for Financial Services, Trade and Industry and Immigration. Our guest tonight, Louis George, is a human rights activist, and Terence Bethel, the National Vice Chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Glad to have both of you back.
Good to be here.
Well, before we begin, we would just like to officially extend our heartfelt condolences to the family of the late Honorable Teresa Moxie Ingram on her passing. Mrs. Moxie Ingram served in the cabinet of former Prime Minister, the Honorable Hubert Ingram, in various ministerial capacities, including immigration. She certainly will be remembered as a dedicated educator and a fierce politician. Certainly a great loss to the country. We just wanted to take a moment to extend our condolences. Back now to our discussion, gentlemen. Again, welcome. On Monday, during his contribution to the budget debate, the Honorable Brent Simonet, as we just would have heard, who has the responsibility for immigration, expounded on the new immigration law, indicating that those born in the Bahamas to non-Bahamian parents who have missed the constitutional entitlement period of 18 to 19 years old will only be granted permanent residency with the right to work unless other circumstances entitle them. Let's say, for instance, marriage. Lou, we're going to start with you. Would you say this is fair?
To an extent, I would say yes. But not
Really?
well, to an extent, but not entirely, because, and again, the announcement is not revolutionary in my opinion, because persons have been granted permanent residency over the years. That happens today. I know of scores of individuals who were born in the Bahamas, may have been sent back, for example, to Haiti with their parents, and they would have grown up in Haiti, and upon returning, attempted to apply to be naturalized as a Bahamian citizen, and those individuals were given permanent residency. And after a number of years, showing their ties and connection to the Bahamas, they return, and then they apply again for naturalization, and then they're naturalized as a Bahamian citizen. So, I mean, I don't see how, revolutionary this announcement is. I also think that on the flip side of things, where it's not necessarily fair, or where I don't necessarily agree with it, because the minister did not give us the reasoning, the logic behind this announcement. The same process for obtaining permanent residency is the same process for almost obtaining citizenship or naturalization. Cabinet approves permanent residencies. Cabinet approves citizenship. So if cabinet has the time to sit and to meet, then why can't you utilize that exact same amount of time to make determinations on citizenship or naturalization applications? And so I do not fully support the idea or the announcement because, again, persons, they're born here, raised here. For whatever reasons, persons may have missed that 1 year window. I mean, it's only 1 year.
The issue is that window from 18 to 19.
Exactly. It's only 1 year. Now, mind you, they can start preparing and gathering some documents, from 16 or 17, but a lot of those documents have expiry dates on them, are not accepted if they were around for too long. For example, the Haitian embassy doesn't legalize or stamp certain documents if it's over 6 months. For example, your mother or your father's birth certificate, some other things that you may need to get if the person, for example, went to school in Haiti, health or police certificates, those sort of stuff. And so it's a very intricate,
complicated
process. And so the 1 year window, oftentimes, we on the Bahamian side, because we didn't have to go through it, we don't necessarily know what it takes to actually satisfy that application process. And we're saying, well, they're negligent. They just don't want to.
To most of us, you seem, a year seems like a pretty long time for you to gather up some documents.
I guarantee you it's not. I guarantee you it's not. I can remember when I went through the process, I, sent to Haiti for my mother and my father's birth certificates, respectively, from the National Archives of Haiti. And at the time, and even now, the Haitian embassy does not facilitate these services. So in case you didn't know.
You have to go through on your own.
You have to go through this on your own. You need to find someone that you think that you can trust, that says that I can do this.
Right.
And then you give that person big bucks to send to Haiti for documents that oftentimes come back with missing stamps, did not go to the ministry of this or the department of that, and then you have to send that back again. Yeah, so the process is very, very
Terrence, I
complicated.
want your take on this, particularly this window now. Once you've missed that window, you can only apply for permanent residency.
Well, as I understand it, they had about 44 years notice. So with 44 years of notice, you probably should be able to do from the time of your birth that something that's pre-existing double the time of your lifetime. You should probably be able to work on that. So I don't think that that's an issue, to be honest. The window is just a non-issue as far as I'm concerned. If you knew on the day that you were born, or somebody knew on the day that you were born, that for you to become a citizen, and it takes them 18 years to get it done, and you got a whole extra year, you got 19 years, I just think it's it's unfortunate, and I think there's nothing needs to be done about that. I'm quite happy with that part of it. On the other hand, again, like Luby says, there's nothing new. There's absolutely nothing new. These are things that are, but one of the things of the F&M is they are very good at rephrasing something that was done before and saying it's brand new. And they've done that over and over and over again. And they won't stop just because it's been pointed out. And so that's what they continue to do. And so I don't imagine anything. I mean, it would be very good if some of those measures that they said they're going to put in place happen, and they work. It would be very good. Everybody wants that process to be as fair as possible.
Do you accept, though, that the process to residency and to naturalization, even to work permit, is still very chaotic and antiquated and archaic in many ways?
It possibly is. I've never had to avail myself of these services. So it possibly very is, because I do know that it is a paper-based service, and that in itself is something that I don't think is tolerable in 2018.
I can tell you from personal experience.
Right.
I have a nephew who has to apply. He's lived here since he was 2.
Right.
He has to apply for a work permit annually.
Right.
And it is months. Sometimes
Oh, no,
before you
I
can
know.
even get a response.
Oh, I know about that
And the
part.
paperwork being lost.
Oh, no, I know about that part.
Yeah,
That's right.
I know. I live with that.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Yeah, no, I know about that part. That's really distressing, and that's about the paper-based system that I think that definitely is intolerable in 2018. My view is we should live like we're in 2018. had I been
As the country?
well,
Across the board.
But that's why. But that's
Yeah.
why I say that as a country all across the board.
Yeah.
I agree. So therefore, I don't think government should be exempt from that. I think it is important that I'm the fellow who tells government, why don't every ministry have a WhatsApp line? And so it seems like the Ministry of Works seems to be the first one to respond with that, and now it seems like I don't know if that's what they included in their things, but I think that they should start with a WhatsApp line. I mean, it's a simple thing to implement. I mean, we could do that in an hour. There are so many technologies to take advantage of to make the whole process better, and I agree totally. Yeah.
But you said you live with it.
Yeah.
I went through it. I can remember going up to the Department of Immigration. This was during the time of my naturalization process. Checking up on my application because, truth be told, you're not getting any calls. Don't sit around and wait for them to call you. Even though if you go online on the government's website, it says it's 6 weeks. 6-week turnaround time, or 6 weeks you should be contacted.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
You saw it.
I was right on the 6
Go
weeks.
online and you will see it.
I'd love to know how they're counting and calculating those 6 weeks. but
You would
okay.
never be contacted,
Yeah.
And I went up there, and at the time the gentleman told me, well, first of all, the receptionist almost always tells everybody, well, ain't nothing here, check back in 2 weeks. Like, that is their favorite line. Check back in 2 weeks. That is scripted. So, you continuously check back.
Every
and,
2 weeks.
Yeah, I demanded to see somebody at this particular time, and I saw someone. And upon seeing this individual, he went in the back, came back and said, well, your immunization card is missing. I'm saying, how could my immunization card be missing from my file when I submitted everything? He said, I'm not going to argue, it's missing. I went immediately to the clinic on Blue Hill Road near C.R. Walker.
Right.
I did it over. I brought it back in about 2 days, only for this gentleman to ask me, what is this for?
Yeah.
What is this for? And when that happens, who do you
But
run
that's-
to? Who do you complain to?
But that's a lack of a proper. I mean, this isn't a single. That part isn't a singular incident. It's about the government and how it operates.
I want to move. Let's move the discussion forward. March 14th, the Prime Minister, acting as the Minister of Immigration in the absence of the Minister responsible, flew Magistrate Joanne Ferguson to the island where immigrants were detained after landing illegally. He found them guilty, and they were subsequently sent home from that island. PM them coming under attack from some quarters for this. But I want to ask you, gentlemen, what do you think about this? It was quick and cost effective. If you weigh that against 7.2 million spent over 5 years repatriating immigrants.
But why was it done? I think the Prime Minister may say that they're trying to adhere to the rule of law, allow these persons due process, and have their day in court. Well, if that is going to be the case, then where are the translators or the interpreters? You understand? Did due process actually happen? Did persons who may want to seek asylum had an opportunity to make that application or to make that request? All right. I mean, I think this was done to simply pacify, what's been happening in mainstream media, social media, with Bahamians, up in arms against this whole influx of illegal immigrants coming from the South. And it is a real issue. It is a major problem. But, all of these actions, these steps, these announcements that the government has been making, I don't understand how any of those will solve the issue.
Well, it's certainly a response to Jean Roney. Let's not act like that's not in the air. That's what it
That
is.
elephant in the room.
Yeah. So let's
You want to be
let's-
seen as doing something.
Yeah, right. So it's all about that. So and I expect them to do something. I mean, politically to do that. The Prime Minister confirmed that he sent somebody down there. I don't know that the Minister of Immigration has the power to tell when people done interfered in the judiciary in the past. It was a problem. This is a
big
problem.
problem.
The Prime Minister breaking the law, and how did the person? That's really weird. So that's something to be very interesting to clarify. But in 3 months' time, the Prime Minister, it's this usual thing, would probably clarify it with some strange statement. But I do think that there ought to be facilities in place to manage the process of the processing of these illegal immigrants. And I think those facilities probably be better off further away from the capital than closer to the
Because
capital.
the expense of having to bring everyone here, etc., as opposed to flying the magistrate
Right.
and interpreters and attorneys, so those who want to represent.
Right.
If you look in the whole cost of this,
Right.
you know.
So we could make our own Ellis Island out there somewhere and down south and we could probably put the Ellis Island on the iguana as opposed to the dog, but the iguana could probably use some more.
They could definitely use the activity.
Yes.
Gentlemen, we're going to take our first break in the show. Stay with us. We are back with more On the Record right after this.
This segment is sponsored by Percy's Island Game.
We're gonna give you a check every week for a year.
Bro, you hear about Percy's pension plan?
Yeah, something about $1,000 a week for a year.
That's Percy's pension plan. You could win one of 5. All you gotta do is put $20 on your Island Game account, and you have a chance to win up to 52 times.
You know something, guys? I can need one of those Percy's pension planning because with Island Game, it's surely a guarantee. Oi, I ain't got no tension, I got Percy's pension.
Need insurance for your valuables? Shield Insurance is the answer for you, offering friendly, professional service at competitive prices. Our experienced staff at Shield Insurance work hard to ensure that you get the right coverage for your car, home, or business. Now introducing our new premium financing program, designed to make it easier for government workers and employees of approved businesses to receive car and home insurance. Visit Shield Insurance on Thompson Boulevard or call 356-7202.
Welcome back to more On the Record. We are discussing tonight Bahamian immigration, new rules, new game. Luby Georges and Terrence Bethel are my guests. So far, up to this point, March, 442 immigrants repatriated. Pretty alarming when you think we're just now at the first quarter of the year. Are we doing a better job at protecting our borders, or are more immigrants coming?
It's all about protecting the borders.
Well, I don't know. I mean, first of all, the numbers are alarming to anybody when you hear them anyway. So I don't know.
Are we capturing more, or are more people coming?
One can hardly tell, right? When you think of them in terms of plane loads of people, right? That's a lot of plane loads of people. I'm concerned, of course, that the numbers are what they are, but that may indicate that we are capturing more persons. I don't know what it actually indicates. What I am concerned about, though, is that I think we need to have a holistic plan. I don't think we just go stand at there, set a trap or set a net out and crap to people and so I don't know if that's a holistic plan. I think that the plan there's something that has to be more integrative. I think we need to sit down with all the stakeholders and say what is it that makes you want to hire primarily people who have very low skills to operate in your business. So, because obviously the reason that they come is because they know there's a demand. They come because they know there's a demand. So there's a demand, and I don't know if we're addressing the demand. So I think it needs to be a more holistic approach that talks about addressing the demand and then trying to figure out how to turn that around so that it doesn't look too. Yeah,
I hear what you say, but I think from 1973 to now, I think we should have addressed this. I just want to put it out there, honestly, I'm without words when you say we need to look at immigration holistically. What have we been doing?
Absolutely.
What have we been addressing?
And everybody has had their turn.
And everybody's guilty. We haven't had one government. We have had successive different governments.
I agree totally, but we'd be talking about something else that didn't happen if we didn't have that. So yeah,
that's another show.
Exactly, but the thing is that I agree that. we need to do something, but I need the
Yeah,
approach.
let's move forward with what's on the table. Law Reform Commissioner will soon be appointed by government. Should this person be independent or should this person come from within government? Maybe I'll start with you.
The tricky one. I think it should be an independent individual. I think it should be someone who's not necessarily tied or appointed by a particular political party or
Who's governing at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think or the government and the opposition should have a say. And who is?
Why are you laughing?
I don't see the work out right now too much.
Exactly. I'm just trying to say that we need it to be as neutral as possible. To not be a part of the agenda that is on the table.
Why do you think that won't happen?
I'm trying to find a neutral person in the Bahamas, right?
There are some of us in existence.
I know.
Not that I want to be a law reform commissioner.
No, but
there are people who do not have any political ties. But the issue is, though, that these people shy away from these kinds of positions because of the political
But that's
influence.
what I'm saying. They're not the people who will do something like that because they are. So my view is the government appoints it, so I think the person should be in the government. One thing will happen, right, is if the person doesn't get fired in some kind of massive firing exercise of 5,000 people when the new government comes in, what will probably happen is that institutional knowledge will stay with that person even if he was transferred or she was transferred elsewhere. And I think we did have a law reform commissioner. I don't know what has happened with that particular office at this point, but it appears to me that if you're appointing a new one, then you fired the old one or something, or you intend to fire the old one. But I certainly think that the law reform commissioner is an important area. Especially with the massive changes that we have not adapted to in terms of technology. Because, in the Bahamas, if they say evidence, people say that's a piece of paper. The fact that the evidence is garnered by you printing it from somewhere else, they don't like that. So there's some stuff the Law Reform Commissioner will probably have to address, like basic things. And I don't think that the Immigration Act itself is the Law Reform Commissioner. I think that's a bigger conversation, like I said. To resolve that.
Again, interesting to see where this goes. Minister of Immigration said the department that deals with naturalization has been separated from the Department of Immigration on Hawkins Hill. Hundreds of files and staff have been moved to the new location. In your opinion, will this make any difference with expediting the paperwork? And I have in brackets here, same employees.
Exactly. Same system, same process, same employees. You just took them out of one office to the next. What changes?
I have a location for it. It's called the cloud. Just put the stuff there, then everybody who needs to work with it can get there. It seems ridiculous that they're talking about paper. I would be embarrassed if I was a minister of the government or anybody in the government talking about pieces of paper. I just think that is inconsistent with how we live in the rest of our life.
Do you think moving this department that deals just with naturalization, making it separate and apart from immigration, do you think that will make any difference?
It was always separate and apart because it's an entire department.
Different building.
They have an entire floor on Hawkins Hill that just deals with those things.
There have been studies about how when you paint certain rooms, certain colors, and redesign them, that people become more productive. Maybe if that's what's a part of it.
My mother, I put this out on the post last week. My mother used to say, don't make sense putting on clean clothes if you ain't bathed. Okay. I'll just put that out. Yeah. One of the promises made by the FNM government is to quicken the long wait many foreign-born people have had to endure over the years on this road to citizenship. Some have waited for more than 10 years for approvals or denials. It is in our processing, or is our processing inadequate, or do you think it's interference that's led to these long waits?
Political interference, and I think it's intentional. It has to be intentional because every election cycle, whether the PLP is in or whether the FNM is in, citizenship, just drops down like, a rainstorm. All right? Persons who've been waiting 5, 10, 15 years, just wait. Trust me, around election time, you're going to get it. And I know of other persons, from the Haitian community and growing up in the immigrant community myself, who, because they were connected to this MP or my cousin or somebody knows this particular MP, they managed to get their stuff, in a very, very expedited manner. You understand? So we have the capacity right now to do it. We just don't want to do it.
This is one of the more vexing things I have dealt with, and I've looked internationally, because I lived in the U.S. for a bit, and I didn't have to go through immigration, but I had to go get a work permit. And the process to get that work permit was like open work permits, so somebody just had to sign off, and I had to go there and get it. And I was there in line, and I got in line at 7 o'clock in the morning. By 1:15, sorry, about 1:45, I was in front of the people who were supposed to be issuing this work permit. So I thought, okay, now I got to go through some kind of interview, right? So the interview involved repeating the information that they saw, taking a picture, handing me the card, right? I was in line for 4 and some hours before I got something that was summarily going to be done. I couldn't believe it. And so this was something that was pre-approved because I completed my education. It was pre-approved, and I thought about it. I said, no wonder the whole doggone thing is like this, because things that are summarily done, they just put lines and all sorts of silly processes in place. And it appears that governments tend to do that. I mean, I have friends who've lived in the United States for 10, 15 years and going through the same kinds of problem as well, trying to get work permits and residencies and all of that stuff sorted out. It seems like this is a troublesome area in most governments and countries, and I don't know why, but I suspect that there might be some interferences in the process, because I know any application process has 3 stages. Application, where you submit the information; authentication, where you authenticate the supporting documents; and then approval. That's it. Now, that approval process seems to be the part that's problematic, but when I hear you talk, it seems like the authentication part seems to be problematic as well.
Everything is problematic.
And that's primarily because you are... I mean, I process things all the time.
What amazes me with this process is you have persons who were born in our hospitals, were giving birth certificates at our Registrar General's office, went to our schools, and so these persons were in our systems, and we were aware of this individual from the day they were born. And at 18, they come to you with all of this document that you already have in your system and say, hey, I'm making the application to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas. Why is it? Why?
It's a file. It's a manila folder. I can show you. I can show you what manila folders look like.
I've had it, but you make reference to the United States. So, but with most things there that you're applying for, there is a date that they give you. By this date, a determination would be made, and you know that for a fact.
But it's likewise, they still don't meet the dates. But I mean, all of these places seems to have the same problem, that there's some interference, and that interference point, I think, can be electronically resolved. I'm sure that
when you
it can.
consider we don't have 500,000 people,
right?
And definitely all those people are not applying for status of work permit. So again, it baffles me. Why is it that we cannot seem to put in place a process to deal with a few thousand people on an annual basis?
It doesn't appear to be a few thousand people. If 5,000 were illegal and getting out, I mean, remember, these other people ain't exactly of that same status. This is a different problem.
But they're not applying for that, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is much more than that. I agree that, okay, make me Minister of Immigration. Of course, in 6 to 8 months, I'll know exactly what is there. Because that's of course, my background. That's what I do. I will have to find out exactly how many files are there, and I know that it's all electronic, and I'll know that. The reality is then, what resources do you have in place? Do you to make that to do the proper background checks and all that stuff? I think that's a problem.
The question: do you think that there is the will even within the department to fix these issues? Because the longer I delay, the longer I can get some things done.
Possible.
Is there a will?
Possible, maybe probable. But
the minister himself talked about,
we can come to that. We can come to that.
That's my point.
Let's not act as if, you know.
No.
Let's not act like if it doesn't
understand.
exist.
No,
We know
I'm
that
saying,
corruption
Would you be
exists
surprised
throughout
if you found
government.
out?
absolutely not.
Okay.
I would also be not surprised if
So
people created great wealth
the
by
people
doing that.
in the department don't necessarily have the will.
Well, also you also realize that a lot of people make money in the process of being intermediaries.
That's my point.
Yes. No. I mean, they're legal intermediaries. Somebody paid them
You
to
mean
go.
legally?
Legal intermediaries. No, I mean, in terms of lawyers and other persons who JPs and all of these stuff, they work in that kind of process to try help people through this process. So
that's
that's a
fine.
big industry that sort of disappears if this thing works.
I mean, but those are legitimate. They're legitimate works, right?
No, I agree, but they actually end up that way because I can't get
Because
any
the
assurances.
process
Right, yeah.
is so long and
Right,
protracted.
exactly.
Gentlemen, we are going to take another break. We hope that you are enjoying tonight's topic, which is Bahamian immigration, new rules, new game. We are at the halfway mark. Our guest, Luby Georges, human rights activist, and Terence Bethel, national vice chairman of the PLP. I'm enjoying the show. Join us on the other side of the break. We're going to look now at the Shantytown Initiative as well as the Immigration Department itself. Stay with us. We are in our second season of On the Record, and we thank you, our viewing audience, for allowing us into your homes every Thursday at 8 p.m. We value your opinion, and we want you to be a part of our discussions. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and comment on our exciting topics. Remember, it's all on the record.
Springtime is here, the time when nature awakens and life begins to flourish. In adoration of the season, the Paint Place would like to brighten up your surroundings. Discover beautiful pastels like spring blossom or lotus flower. The Paint Place can bring to life any color you can imagine. Choose from our wide selection of top brands like Richards and Benjamin Moore and an array of painting accessories. The Paint Place, when you want to paint it right the first time.
Welcome back to the second half of tonight's show. Our topic is Bahamian immigration, new rules, new game. We're continuing our discussions with Luby Georges and Terence Bethel. Several shanty towns have been mysteriously destroyed, some here in New Providence and in Abaco more recently. In Abaco, residents say they expect the worst of the worst due to what they call government's inaction in regards to this crisis. What do we really expect out of government when it comes to addressing these shanty towns that have been, again, allowed to pop up and exist under successive governments? What is the expectation?
My concern is, these things are governed by acknowledging that we're dealing with human beings. And in the Bahamas, we probably should have clearly established what is the minimum standard of living that we expect for the human beings who exist in the Bahamas, and try to enforce that. Because some of the conditions that exist in I've never been in a shanty town. I don't know why I haven't. But some of the conditions that I have seen on pictures existing in shanty towns, I've seen those same type of conditions existing outside of that space. And I'm concerned about that, the human condition. My view is that the government's role in that ought to be that very same thing, establishing the standards and enforcing that people are living in standards that are a certain level reasonable concerning their health and basic hygiene primarily, and then also concerning their safety. And I think that those, from what I've seen, that's pretty much a challenge in those situations. I think that the government's role is to, one, get rid of them, and then insist that people are accommodated in situations that are healthier and more safe.
How do you displace now hundreds of people who are living
Thousands of people.
Thousands, pardon me.
The same will be displaced if a hurricane broke it up. I mean, the same way
But
you
that
deal
be,
with
that's an urgent need now. People have to you attack it differently because it's an urgent need. But now you're talking
But why can't you just decide it's an urgent situation now and deal with it in the same manner? And so that's where the problem is. The problem is, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it broke, and you're just acting like it ain't broke. And so my position is that what should happen is immediately there should be a determination
who
of
should
what
pay for this.
the persons who move from the shanty towns. They should pay.
We're
They should,
asking migrants or immigrants.
Now, if we want to be, let's be honest with ourselves now. And as a person who you've never visited shanty towns, I think I've probably been in, at least 30 different shanty towns.
I've been in quite a few too. Yeah.
I've been in quite a few shanty towns on different islands.
exposed
and
myself,
it's an experience.
That Cowpen Road stretch alone, there's quite a number of those out there. And for the most part, the individuals living in some of these shanty towns are actually employed. They're actually employed.
so that's why I figured that they could. They
Exactly.
I figured
And they are paying landlords.
And they are paying rent, yes.
Yeah,
They are not. These aren't.
That's the part that I think you attack.
Now these aren't buildings. In many instances, that they set up on their own. They are paying rent either to use the property, if I'm correct, or to live in the building.
Right, and so they, in the words of the National Development Plan, they call them unplanned settlements, right? And so in these unplanned settlements, one of the things you do is you tell the persons who are landlords, right, that you can't operate this business. So that's the first thing. All businesses have business licenses. You can't operate this business. Once you're renting to more than 4 people, you have to have a business license anyway. So they got to get a business license and they got to comply with it. So the reality is there are existing things that the government can do even without writing one new law. So that's the first thing. So I think that much of it is policy and political will. Okay, how are you going to affect the cash flow needs of the person who's the landlord? Well, to me, I don't care. I don't believe you should make money.
I've got to ask Louis to get in on it because that's a very idealistic view. But what is the reality now?
Well, the reality is this, and just to piggyback just a little bit off of what Terrence is saying, and to highlight a point, I can remember during the last administration's term, the then Minister of Immigration and Foreign Affairs, Fred Mitchell, himself on national radio said that the problem with the shanty towns is that they are protected by the elites. And you made the point. People don't, you see it all over Facebook and other places. People, well, I can't go into somebody else's country and just find a piece of land and just build on it and just live. Well, Haitians are not doing that. And persons who are in shanty towns, they're not doing that. All right?
So be dishonest to be dishonest to start with.
Start with. So,
because it's our land. And we're leasing it out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Behaviors must be complicit with illegal immigration. That can't happen without behaviors being complicit.
Go ahead.
So when we're trying to, government just, we have to be real. We have to be honest. We need to do a proper assessment. We need to go in these shanty towns and we need to collaborate. We need to work along with leaders from the communities that are trusted, because I heard yesterday that there is some census that the government plans on doing. They're going to go into shanty towns and they're currently training individuals for that. Well, if they're just going to do it that way, I don't think it's going to be fruitful. I think it's going to be a waste of time, energy, and resources. If you're not going to collaborate, because I had a reporter, a journalist, reach out to me on Monday, but I was in the States. And usually when, I've had this in the past where reporters want to go in or journalists want to go into shanty towns, they'd contact myself, or I would refer them to other individuals who are known and who are trusted in the community.
You don't just walk into
Exactly. So if the government thinks that they're just going to walk into shanty towns and start asking these questions from your census list, and think that you're going to have accurate data and that is going to cause you to now plan properly, think again.
No, I don't. One of the reasons I don't go to shanty towns is because a lot of places I go, people think I look like a police officer. So, but
and that's the reality.
I agree. I agree that there is some more in-depth work that must happen. I totally agree. There are some foot to the
and we need some educational campaigns going on, man.
And I'm happy you mentioned that, because the minute you bring up, government or anyone else brings up this issue of shanty towns, it evokes a lot of emotion.
Yes.
Because families are going to say, why are we accommodating people who are here illegally? Because the perception is that 90% of the people who live in these areas are here illegally.
Oh, I got that.
And that is a
I
wrong
got
perception
that very seriously.
because we have Bahamian citizens residing in these shanty towns. All right? Bahamian citizens. And I'm not just talking about persons who are naturalized as Bahamians and all. We're talking about Bahamian citizens who grandmother and grandfather, generation of Bahamians, born Bahamian from the day they were born, you were Bahamian, who are residing in these places. You understand? So how do we, it is unrealistic, it is inhumane for us to think that we can just give a 30-day notice,
and
grab some bulldozers, and just break everything down, and you all just figure it out.
Yeah, but in a hurricane you get 2 or 3 days and sometimes a couple hours. I'm saying that whatever the situation is, right? Certainly there is enough available space for them to be accommodated elsewhere. That's for sure.
We're talking about thousands of people now.
Who foots the bill?
Who foots the bill?
Yeah.
Those who foot in the bill and where they are.
So now you're asking a landowner on Cowpen Road who got 50 cows shot throw up that he must now move them people out and build these wonderful buildings and rent them out. He must take on all of that expense to put up these.
Like how people say with insurance companies, all that money you was getting by.
I can say bulldoze the land, let them go where they gotta go. I ain't messing
in Eleuthera, Blackwood, Eleuthera, called it's called Blackwood. And if you go in Blackwood, that one in the Shantytown report that we had a few years ago is actually accepted. The way the houses are built, they're little bit more upscale. They have the bathroom, they have the kitchen, they have pipes.
Well, that's
other things.
I don't know if
it's very, very, very cheap.
But even if let's just say like the first move you say these guys say, look, hey man, I can give you a little break, right? Build proper plumbing on here, but proper bathrooms.
You gotta have plumbing, sewerage, electricity.
But even if the people have to share it, even if the people have to share it, you just have it in good standing, and then I can tell you can't have no dirt floors. I mean, you start somewhere. I'm not saying that you have to go, like a bull in a china shop, but I'm saying that probably helps as well, given the way it takes Bahamians to move, which you usually don't do.
Sometimes you don't need a radical response.
Yeah, it takes right. Yeah. So I'm convinced, though, that the solutions are much closer than we talk. I think they're much easier than we talk.
Let me ask you this. Is there the will within the Haitian Bahamian community to fix these areas as well? When you consider, I mean, you have a fire and 30 homes are gone in 2 hours.
There is, for the most part, I would say no. There is no will from the Haitian side of it, but not from the Bahamian of Haitian descent side, who are concerned and who feel the brunt of the Bahamian backlash, because we are stuck in the middle now, in the middle of the Bahamians, in the middle of the Haitians.
And we're very
the
unpleasant.
Haitians are
we are very unpleasant people when it comes to this
Exactly.
issue. Very
and so, for example, last month, there was a crew of young Bahamians of Haitian descent who, in Abaco and some from Nassau, went down and did a cleanup exercise in the mud. And on the 21st of April, I'm joining them. We had a few who were born here, who are living in the States, who are coming down to go to Abaco again in the mud to do a cleanup exercise and to also have a town meeting in between the mud and the peace to try to speak to these people and educate them, inform them. But during the last exercise, a lot of the Haitians said to the young people, well, some money drop pay. So they paying y'all off now. Y'all trying to make it look good and make it look like y'all want to clean up. So lack of leadership is also killing the Haitian community. Lack of leadership has that community in the dark. You have greedy pastors and other individuals who tout themselves.
Greedy pastors?
Oh, yes,
really?
Yes,
wow, there's a new concept.
Listen, you cannot be a good leader. I'm talking about you trying to, shepherd and lead these people when your boss goes into Shanty Downs, picks up scores of people, jump into your bus, you take them to your church, they pay their tithes offering, you make the money off of them. Later on the night, you drop them there, and you go in your nice home somewhere out in mainstream society.
You're bringing them to the Lord. You're bringing them to find Jesus.
You're not educating. You're not informing these individuals of what the rules are, what the laws are, and trying to put programs in place to say, let us see how we can get our people out of this situation.
See, so there's when we talk about people like Maslow, and he says these people have some basic needs, right? And so what happens is you have people who are coming and they are working at minimum wage jobs. Usually they're just trying to cover some basic stuff, like a roof over their head and some clothes on there and some food on a regular basis. this stuff that you're talking about is usually, they're spending all their time just taking care of that. That is probably why it takes a while for any real change to happen. Basically, change has to be really forced in many cases. Now, I'm saying some of it will be hurt, but I think it don't have to be all hurtful, but the change has to be forced. And I think that one of the ways to do it is to actually break up the environment that will continue to breed the same problem over and over again of low wage earning and that lifestyle. And I think that that was one of the things that, you know, even though it was not focused on the Haitian community, the RISE program, the Progressive Liberal Party was trying to do, and now it's been canceled because one of the things that they do is they like cyclical poverty. But I think the thing you could do is address cyclical poverty, address these cyclical problems, and I think that we have the programs already in place. We just need to find ways to adapt them so that they serve us better even in that situation.
Gentlemen, we're going to take our final break in the show. Stay with us. More on the record right after this.
We're gonna give you a check every week for a year.
Bro, you hear about Percy's pension plan?
Yeah, something about $1,000 a week for a year.
That's Percy's pension plan. You could win one of 5. All you gotta do is put $20 on your Island Game account, and you have a chance to win up to 52 times.
You know something, guys? I can need one of those Percy's pension planning because with Island Game, it's surely a guarantee.
Boy, I ain't got no tension. I got Percy's pension. Counting right this easy train at Percy's Island Game.
Welcome back to On the Record. We are into our final segment in this episode. We have been discussing, in case you missed it, Bahamian immigration. New rules, new game with our guests Terrence Bethel and Luby Georges. Gentlemen, one of the things that you would have heard at the top of the show, the Minister of Immigration talked about putting in place something to deal with the serious corruption within the Immigration Department, a corruption unit to be headed by a policeman. All things considered, is this necessary? And do you see it bringing about any real changes within the department and within the processes that exist or don't work?
Terrence, you laugh.
Well, suppose the corruption unit was paper-based as well, right? Will we solve that problem?
Write down your complaint.
You know, so write it down, right?
Let's say all things considered, it's not.
Exactly right. You know, so
let's hope and pray that it is.
Yeah. So the issue is that the processes need to be better automated, first of all, and of course, corruption should always be, and those issues should always be something that the government pursues in terms of not trying to criminalize the population, but just trying to make sure that, you know, systems are really not getting out of hand and causing problems and people are becoming enriched by inefficiencies.
But they are.
Yeah, but I agree, and that's what I'm saying. I think it should be addressed. I think it's a great idea to address it, and if it's effectively addressed, then it will get rid of the corruption. I don't know if it will speed up the processes.
Stop thieving.
Yeah.
I think it is a great move. I think it is needed. Corruption seems to be the order of the day all across this country.
Yeah.
We have, you know, complaints and corruption unit with the police department. Then, you know, I don't see why we can't have it with the immigration department. You know, people, you know, not wanting to do their jobs, delaying, you know, intentionally saying that files are lost, you know, causing people to be in limbo just a little bit
longer.
Give me
$100 and I can move your
I can
file
remember,
forward.
again, when I was going through my process, I had this friend of mine who was born here but grew up in Haiti, was back here, barely spoke English, applied for his naturalization just as me, was both of us waiting. But this guy was up and down, traveling back and forth from Haiti to the Bahamas. I'm like, how are you traveling if you going through this process just like me. So my grandmother died in 2009. I went up to the department and requested what they call a travel letter. So they give you the permission to travel and to re-enter.
Okay.
And they told me they don't give those stuff out. Now, I wanted to attend my grandmother's funeral. They told me we don't issue any such thing. But yet this man, who was my friend, he said to me, well, you going to be wrong.
Yeah, see.
You're supposed to handle them and you would have gotten yours.
Handle meaning come with your money
You understand.
to pay for what you need.
Well,
so corruption is there. I don't know how much corruption is there.
I hope you're not going to testify.
That is years ago.
There are one of the things that they're looking at too is a proposed website and hotline in which public can report matters of illegal landings, fraudulent marriages, etc. Are citizens trusting enough to do this? And also, the reason I'm asking this too is because I know that as a culture, we hold the threat of deportation over foreigners all the time. And we do it. The minute your boss pisses you off on the job or something happens, you call immigration and report that person, and they can easily be escorted out of the country.
Which creates the appetite for people who are not Bahamians to work for you. That's one of the things that forces that appetite, because once they can hold that over your head, they feel they can make you work a little bit more and a little bit more, and force some things out of you that they can't get out of a Bahamian. And that's problematic. But when we talk about this automating this site and all of that, I'm concerned about the reports of the marriages thing, because some people, I actually know of people who really mess with that stuff.
No, and there are people who do it. I mean, it is a real industry.
Yeah. It is.
It's an industry.
I have no issue with it if we're going to ensure that there is a process where the person, who is accused of whatever, can be properly heard and they can seek legal counsel, all of that stuff. Right. Because listen, like you said, we hold deportation over there.
Yeah, no, that's
and we have, if you just follow social media, we got some crazy people out there who just say, you know what, deport everybody. So you can imagine putting a WhatsApp line out there. Listen, that would blow up all day.
So what actually happens a lot of times, right? People, they marry a foreign person and they vex with them and they're trying to get the property and all that stuff, and they don't want to go through the divorce, right? They call up immigration and say this person, need to go.
It's a fraudulent marriage.
Or some kind of foolishness, right? And try to get, and that's not very nice.
Not at all.
But the government now gets involved in this kind of thing as a result. And I'm like I said, that's the area that I'm concerned about. That I don't know if that's the one that needs to be reported anonymously. I think that if you
need to be held to account.
I think, and especially when you report to somebody else about it, I still think that's not something that should be done anonymously. I that particular one.
I agree. Yeah,
that becomes a free for all and a circus, or could potentially become a circus.
Yes, I agree. That one should be dealt with differently, but the illegal landings, possibly illegal hirings, where they can come in and investigate to say, you know what, we suspect that you may have someone, hired illegally, then they can prove that, hey, no, this person's
in a restaurant one day when the immigration bus pulled up, right? Goes into the kitchen and takes 3 people out and put them on the bus, right?
I witnessed it. They were building a home across from me. I think it was maybe a year or 2 ago. And I just saw the immigration. In fact, I was trying to pull out of my driveway, and I said, why is this car in the middle of the road? And the immigration officers were there taking someone off of the site. So obviously, and I mean, I don't live on a main road.
Right, exactly.
And so obviously somebody had to report.
So that's what I think that process is working pretty well now.
Yeah.
And if it ramps
especially if you make us mad.
Yeah, I know. You just...
Yeah, so again, to go back to what I started off with, I haven't heard anything revolutionary yet from this government in regards to immigration.
It's not going to happen. I don't think we've got anything in place that they can repackage at the moment, but they'll do so shortly.
Are there, as we move now, we're getting towards the end now, are there really any other groupings out there that you think ought to be included in these discussions when we're talking about reforming the immigration law, reforming the Immigration Act, or even the processes in immigration? Government is always accused of making decisions in isolation, or just the technocrats or the people within government who sometimes are a part of the problem. But are there any groups that need to be brought in to broaden these discussions, to look at fixing some of these major issues that continue to plague us? And it's like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, and we expect something different.
So one of the things that we do have in the country is we're getting more and more of these fora between government and private sector and multiple stakeholders, and Tri4, which is the labor and employers in the government. I think that forum is a good place for a lot of this stuff to be dealt with, because there's obviously the appetite for illegal hirings and the appetite for non-Bahamian hirings. It seems to be still pretty high, and that needs to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed from the point of view is, why do you feel that it's better to hire somebody with lower skills than a person with higher skills to do a job, when you probably will have an outcome that's probably less than you really want? I mean, I've seen it. I've actually seen where people do that. They hire people with lower skills, but instead of hiring one, they hire two. I mean, it's like, because I could get two for the price of one and still got two warm bodies. I'm concerned about that, and I think that one of the things we ought to do is challenge these fora like that, which is, have. And I think somewhere in there they can begin to find some of the opportunities. But the other thing is, we have to look at the public health issues. And I think we need to be very serious about the public health issues and very serious about the social issues that come from this whole problem.
Louis, you get the last word.
I agree with Terrence, and I think one part of the conversation that is almost always missing is the question of, why do we? Let's look at ourselves in the mirror now as Bahamians. Why do we want to hire persons, who are unskilled, low-skilled workers, persons who we want to hire illegally? Why? Because that is the message that is going back and causing the influx. There is a push and a pull factor when you talk about migration. So your country, their economic situation in Haiti, for example, is pushing them out of the country. And the desire and the fact that I know that if I get to the Bahamas, a Bahamian
I can find work.
will hire me.
I am going to find work
to the Bahamas.
And the joy that a Bahamian has is saying, my Haitian.
Exactly. So we when we talk about illegal migration, why they keep coming? The boatloads. Why they don't just stay home? Well, what part are we playing in this?
What part
and if we're not going to address us in this, then it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop, and that's why it continues. And the numbers are not alarming, like you asked earlier, with the 400 and something, so far for the year. I think we are right around our average.
You're trending. You're trending. Gentlemen, thank you very much. This discussion has been, I think, quite enlightening this evening. Certainly has opened up this discussion to the fact that we need to have more. And include more stakeholders. And I always say, bring less emotion to when we discuss these issues. I think part of the biggest problem we have is that we lead with the emotion as opposed to looking at the situation for what it is and trying to reason and find solutions and get ourselves out. But thank you very much. I appreciate you stopping by. We hope that you've enjoyed tonight's show. Special thanks to our guests, Louis Georges, Terrence Bethel, my producer, technical staff, and of course you, our audience, for watching week after week. Be sure to join us for more On the Record, same time, same place next week. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Good night, everyone.